It's Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Pam Bondi crashes out. Pam Bondi crashes out again. And Pam Bondi crashes out. Next on the AM Update. That was really bad.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming.
Attorney General Pam Bondi. Apparently, we don't go after co-conspirators of pedophiles unless the stock market, the Dow, is under $50,000. Or 50,000 points, whatever it is. Pam Bondi, Attorney General, testified in front of a House panel yesterday on the topic of Jeffrey Epstein. And she launches into several weird screeds. You just heard maybe one of the weirdest about the state of the stock market. Just totally tone deaf. Just ridiculous. And it would be one thing if her delivery was like super smooth. And, you know, I'm one to comment on smooth delivery. I'm one to criticize that. But she's really bad. I mean, she sounds like a Valley girl a lot of the time. And she just launches into this weird screed about how we should be talking about the stock market instead of Jeffrey Epstein. After all of this water under the bridge, apparently, that's the message that our Attorney General wants to send, including this one.
Here, didn't see one tweet, not one. I didn't see one tweet when Joe Biden was in office about Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once. When he was
weak sauce.
Also, I want the record to reflect that, you know, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Is Jewish. I just want to be clear. Do you want to go there, Attorney General? Or do you want to go there? Are you serious? Talking about anti-Semitism to a woman who lost her grandfather in the Holocaust.
I reclaim my time.
Oh boy! So there's Pam Bondi accusing a Jewish congresswoman, Becca Balint, of anti-Semitism as part of the Jeffrey Epstein hearing. Ted Lieu accused Pam Bondi of committing a crime.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaim my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock.
Sign
The clock.
the legislation. This is
ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. Epstein.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied.
What a poop show. Just a simple yes or no from Pam Bondi would have sufficed there. Because I think it is a simple no. No, there are no underage women there. At least no untoward actions. Perhaps the pièce résistance. Jerry Nadler, who, when standing up, probably 97% of this population has the moral high ground on. And in walking around, pretty much 99.9% of the population could probably outmaneuver. Well, he managed to get the moral high ground and outmaneuver our Attorney General, our intrepid Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
I quit. I almost want to quit. Congressman Thomas Massie, who you now know why the White House hates so much, says he believes that another member of the Trump administration, indirectly, an employee of an employee or underling of an underling, might have committed a crime.
I provided the evidence today that shows that his statements were false under oath. Kash Patel's statements were false. They are in possession. They were in possession at the time, and they're still in possession of evidence that other men participated in the sex trafficking.
Attorney General Bondi didn't seem to directly answer that question. I mean, what do you make of what she did say?
She didn't answer anything. She came here just ready to talk about the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, which seems kind of crazy to me.
So the one thing that I will give the deflectors and defenders right now of this entire, or at least the Trump administration, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel's involvement in this, one thing I will give them absolute carte blanche credit on, or at least boost them on. I won't counter-signal them on this. There was a photograph that went around yesterday of victims of Epstein's abuse in the background behind Pam Bondi, raising their hands, saying that, yes, I feel like the DOJ has ignored us. Now, that is terrible optics for Pam Bondi and the White House by extension. However, any of those victims could come forward and file a police report at any moment. They could. There's no statute of limitations on that. They could file a police report. Otherwise, you're going to be liable to get some of the charges that you're getting right now, which is that this is all politically charged. Otherwise, though, the Trump administration's Pam Bondi, she is not doing that administration any favors at all. She messed this up from the very beginning. Just a total and complete botch going back to last January with those stupid binders. And she kept talking about, hey, you keep pulling this thread. Things are, this is going to unravel really fast for everybody. I'm guessing that's why she was given the green light to pull that binder stunt last year, hoping that would get the base, hoping that would get people who actually voted for transparency and to bring Samson's style, the House of Dagon, crumbling to the ground. That was all just done to try to get people to be satiated. And it didn't work. In fact, it blew up in their face, made things worse. And they kept trying to deflect. Trump attacked his own base repeatedly on the issue of the Epstein documents. Continued to double down until he couldn't anymore because there was too much bipartisan support for where we are now. Just a complete and total botching. And they brought it on on themselves. Let's get to a few stories here quick before the break. President Trump said he told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel that the U.S. would continue to pursue negotiations with Iran. In the House of Representatives, they passed the SAVE Act yet again, 218 to 213. It's Representative Chip Roy's Save America Act, actually. Legislation aimed at keeping non-citizens from voting in U.S. federal elections. An updated version of the Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act, also led by Roy, was passed in the House in April of 2025, never taken up in the Senate. This new version will go to the Senate now. Its fate is, let's say, uncertain at best. Also in the House, they voted in favor of rescinding President Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods, 219 to 211. So both of those aforementioned votes were bipartisan, although with the Save America Act, only one Democrat voted with Republicans. In the measure to ban Trump's tariffs on Canada, several Republicans joined the Democrats. Let's go to this. You saw this yesterday morning. Breathless headlines, rightfully so, about the airspace over El Paso, Texas getting closed. According to Jennifer Jacobs at CBS News, quote, the unexpected airspace closure in El Paso stemmed from disagreements over drone-related tests. Pentagon had undertaken extensive planning on the use of military tech near Fort Bliss. Two sources identified the technology as high-energy lasers. Earlier this week, tech was used to shoot down what appeared to be foreign drones. The flying material turned out to be a party balloon. One balloon was shot down. FAA Administrator Brian Bedford last night, that would have been on Tuesday night, decided to close the airspace without alerting the White House, Pentagon, or Homeland Security officials. Bedford told officials the airspace restrictions would be in place to ensure safety until issues with the War Department could be resolved. What an interesting, weird story out of West Texas. That would have been the largest, in terms of scale and time, largest closure over a major American city in terms of airspace since 9/11. When we come back, more tranny terror, this time, unfortunately, in Canada. Also, we talk about the Super Bowl halftime show. No, not Bad Bunny, the other one. That's coming up next. More tranny terror in Canada. The dude who felt pretty, the man pretending to be a woman, high school dropout who gunned down his mother and stepbrother before killing 6 others at a British Columbia high school, was seen for the first time in resurfaced photos posted by his family, including one eerie snap showing the teen smiling, holding a rifle. Jesse Van Rootselaar, the 18-year-old ex-student who went on a gun-wielding rampage at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, was spotted straight-faced in several pictures posted by his grandmother on Facebook for his 14th birthday. Van Rootselaar launched the horrifying attack at a private residence in the remote community before continuing the carnage at the high school, where authorities said he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Again, he was a dude who pretended to be a woman. The latest incident of tranny terror. Let's go to this. Seemingly the only topic with staying power this week is the topic of the TPUSA All-American Halftime Show. Let's go to Andrew Colvett, executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, who discussed more in depth on just what TPUSA might have stumbled upon with their alternative halftime show.
Especially as we saw those live stream concurrent numbers just keep climbing. I mean, I think there was like 1 million people before the show even started, and YouTube for just the Turning Point channel alone got as high as 6.17 million live concurrents. If you add that up, we're actually working with a third-party firm right now this morning to find out what sort of a Nielsen equivalent would be for this. But when you add up that live stream plus Rab's live stream plus on just YouTube, we're just talking YouTube. We're not talking about other broadcast channels or anything like this. And so it's Charlie's, Turning Point's, Rab's. If you put those 3 streams together, I think you already have the #1 YouTube stream of all time. We're going to confirm that. I'm not here definitively saying that, but it was easily number 2. We'll see if we were the #1 live stream in the history of YouTube. That's not counting Rumble. That's not counting broadcast. That's not counting all of these other areas. So we know for a fact that about 25 million streams last night, which is like amazing. And the way Nielsen does their numbers is they'll usually put a 2.5x on that because they're depending on groups watching it together. And I had people texting me, parties of 50 watching the game saying, "Hey, we're tuned into the halftime show." So it's going to be an estimate, but we're talking 40, 50 million people tuned in to Turning Point USA's The All-American Halftime Show. So just an amazing, amazing success. And I will tell you, this is a shot across the bow, Steve. There are media executives, advertising executives all across the country that took note last night, and some of them are pretty nervous this morning.
Andrew Colvett, executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show on Bannon's War Room, discussing and telling Bannon 40 to 50 million when it's all said and done tuning into that halftime show. Now, it peaked around, 6 million or so live concurrent viewers, which is a pretty big live viewership number, if we're being honest. We do have the Nielsen ratings in for the other halftime show. 128 million viewers, down from 133 million viewers last year. The kicker is 128 million viewers for the halftime show this year was actually up from the average audience for the actual Super Bowl of $125 million. Isn't that interesting? I asked you this week, was the TPUSA, for our poll of the week, was the TPUSA All-American Halftime Show an objective success? Gave you a few options. Yes, numbers don't lie. No, still dwarfed by the NFL. Depends on the NFL response, if there is a response, or other. Comment below. I think you can imagine the overwhelming, resounding winner. Yes, the numbers don't lie. This was an objective success, 81.5%. In second place, no, this was not a success. It was still dwarfed by the NFL at 7%. And just below that at 6.7%. Whether or not this is a success just depends on what the NFL says and whether they feel threatened. 6.7%, as I said. I voted for the first option. I think this is obviously an objective success. What did you have to say? Trumpet Tiger says the objective success here is not so much the quality of the production or the performers, though both were great. It's the fact that TPUSA actually took action on creating an alternative to the spirit of the ages, screw you, that was the NFL's halftime event. That's a great perspective. And you know, Kid Rock, rejoicing that the gospel was preached one way or another. Is he regenerate? I don't know about that. If you look at his Instagram feed, looks probably not. Probably not, but you know what? He said, read your Bible and Jesus saves. That's good for me. I'm not going to hold him up as some sort of great teacher, great theologian. Not going to do that. But you're right. It wasn't the there was no choreography. It was just singing. It was a concert. It was a fun time. But the very fact that they just did something. They did something. It wasn't gaudy. Some might call it gaudy. And if you hate that type of music, you might call it gaudy. But it wasn't shoehorned. It was just a general, genuine attempt at entertainment for a specific audience. And they did a really good job. And I can't stand the people, and I should be careful about this as well, because sometimes I am this person, but the people who are just chucking peanuts on Monday and Tuesday morning at TPUSA, because it was too, white trash, it was too this, it was too that. Let's see you put on a halftime show, an alternative that gets, as Andrew Colvett said, 40 to 50 million viewers when it's all said and done. Brian says numbers are all over the place, but realistically, a quarter of the Super Bowl audience size tuned into TP's broadcast. Millions more have watched it since. This was a success by every meaningful measure, in my opinion. Feels like the culture is finally shifting back to sanity. Light the Dark California says absolutely a success. The sheer number of people stepping up to launch a new high school, college, and faith chapters makes this a clear success. John Evans says real football fans never cared for the halftime show. Kay Adkins says number of viewers is awesome. However, in comparison to the main show numbers, the overall impact wasn't great enough to be noticeable to any of the main show viewers. Tim says took roughly 25% of the NFL audience, and that last verse of Till You Can't presented the gospel clear as day. Can't be anything but a success. Tom says, I'm somewhat surprised folks who claim to be on our side slamming the TPUSA American halftime program. They're calling it idle as well. That is what's confusing. I don't get it. Tanya says, I ended up feeling like it was yet another thing to divide us. I agree. The NFL halftime show was something that divided us. That's going to do it for Thursday. Back at it again tomorrow, where it's going to be another Ask or Tell Me Anything. You can ask me any question you want. Tell me any news story you think needs covered on the AM Update. Make your submissions. Look for the pinned post at Real AM Update on X. Have a wonderful Thursday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntire, and this is the AM Update.